Tears for the Tear God, Salt for the Salt Throne, and Gas the Leaf Tribe.
Vox News. It's not something I take measures to avoid, nor is it something I actively seek out. Today, however, Google decided it would be a good idea to shove a particular Vox article in my face. An article entitled, "Why Conservatives Are Winning the Internet." Now, whether or not that's actually correct is another story. But if you were to ask why, most of us are well aware that the reason conservatives might be winning the internet is that the left can't meme. But we're going to go ahead and examine some of their egomaniacal, masturbatory victimhood reasons as to why conservatives are winning the internet, and then we're going to point at them and laugh.
Hear the song of Slanesh. Hear this dirge and despair.
I want you to take special note of the date here. Okay? A new book explains why digital activism helps conservatives more than liberals. It's basically a big commercial for the book, right? But, okay, a lot of people thought the internet would help democratize the world. Keep this in mind. More people and groups would have access to information, and the ability to mobilize from the ground up would gradually undermine concentrations of power. That was the idea, at least. But the reality has been quite different. Instead of democratizing the world, the internet has destabilized it, creating new cleavages and reinforcing the power structure at the same time. As a largely heterosexual man, new cleavages are always a good thing. This is the story sociologist Jen Schrady tells in her new book, The Revolution That Wasn't. She argues that technology is not only failing to level the playing field for activists, it's actually making things worse by creating a digital activism gap. The differences in power and organization, she says, have undercut working class movements and bolstered authoritarian groups. Because I was under the impression that conservative working class movements were working and the authoritarian left was being thwarted, but... So this Sean Illing spoke to the author, and here's a lightly edited transcript. Most people still see the internet and social media as neutral tools. Is that wrong? The internet is a tool, and in that sense it's neutral. But just like other communication tools from the past, people with more power, with more resources, with more organization have been able to take advantage of it. Goes on to compare it to television and that it requires a lot of money to actually create a television station. You know, it's... yeah. The people who can afford to do this, who can fund the right digital strategy, create a major imbalance in their favor. Yeah, she at some point she points out that conservatives tend to have more resources, and I think what that really means is that people who have more resources tend to be more conservative. That's very true, that people in their youth tend to be a little bit more on the left because they want free stuff. But as they grow older and accumulate their own wealth, they realize that they're the ones who have to pay for the free stuff, so they start to become more conservative. Oh, and it's getting good. It's getting good. When did it become obvious that the digital revolution was politically dangerous? There have been a couple of important shifts. 2006, a crucial moment. People still had this utopian view of the internet. That was the year Time magazine named you the person of the year. Basically, I think YouTube was starting to blow up here. The front cover had this mirror of a blah, blah, blah. Social media platforms were either launched or became public around that time. Facebook became available to the general public, so that was important. 2011 was another pendulum swing because that was the year we saw the Arab Spring unfold. There was also the Indignados movement in Spain and the burgeoning Occupy Wall Street movement in the US, which was a massive leftist failure. But then things started to crumble. There was Gamergate and this explosion of sexism and harassment. I'm still amazed that people think that Gamergate refers to sexism and harassment. The reason it was called Gamergate was because it was an expose of the corruption in games media. There was Edward Snowden. And then, of course, 2016 is when we really went over the cliff with Brexit and the election of Donald Trump. That's over the cliff. Why? Because they didn't win. But I was researching digital activism in 2014, and it was already apparent to me, despite what a lot of people thought, that conservatives and authoritarian powers were seizing control of the digital space. And I think this is a conflation of conservative and authoritarian that for her and for Vox, they seem to be one and the same. That if you're too far to the right, I mean, and this is relatively common in these circles, and that's why fewer and fewer people are buying their bullshit. But isn't 2014 around the time when guys like Sargon of Akkad and Teal Deer and what's that kid who doesn't make videos anymore and I miss him? Vernaculus? Is that the skeptic community? That they were starting to basically debunk all the feminism? Why is that? Is there something inherent to conservatism that makes it more effective in the digital sphere? Or is the gap simply about resource disparities? The simple answer is that conservatives are more likely to have more resources and to take advantage of that. There it is. The other is that they're more likely to have hierarchical infrastructures that make it easier to engage the digital labor that's needed to promote online activism. In other words, they tend to have more top-down organizations, and that's just a more efficient way to distribute labor and get the message out. What she's described here is capitalism. That a person starts a business, is the head of that business, becomes successful and needs more workers, hires more workers, and top-down distributes labor to the workforce. Basically, conservatives are more efficient at generating basically anything because they have hierarchies and capitalism. In terms of the actual ideology itself, I do think there's something about the nature of conservatism that makes it easier to promote online. Conservatives tend to focus on simple, clear messages around freedom in particular. The left tends to focus on this general idea of fairness. Maybe they used to. Conservatives are generally monolithic in their attacks on, say, Obamacare. The left wants a diverse array of voices. The left tends to want to include a lot of different people on a lot of different issues, and the result is a more muddled message that is harder to communicate. Okay, when conservatives are generally monolithic in their attacks on, say, Obamacare, what that means is conservatives generally don't want some sort of universal health care in which you are forced to partake. That's why. It's very simple. That's not freedom. So, yes, generally conservatives will seem monolithic when they say, I can get my own fucking healthcare. I don't need this. I don't want this. The left tends to include a lot of different people and a lot of different issues, and that's your intersectionalism, because you're being so specific about who gets what slice of this and that, and the rights of one group superseding the rights of another. It is muddled. The entire left is muddled. And it's got nothing to do with wanting to be more inclusive. It's got to do with the ideas are muddled. Making it very difficult to communicate. Now, this is where I stopped reading and decided to make a video. Conservatives seem to benefit from a kind of persecution mania. Remember that date. Because they frame themselves as a reaction against the mainstream, because they're the truth tellers in an age of political correctness, their content just spreads faster online, which is itself the site of alternative news. Honestly, that's a great way to put it, and I think it's an important point. Man, some sort of persecution mania. I just want to, we're going to scroll right back up there. Right back up. There it is. The date. Is this not just a day? Maybe? A day before the gay Mexican writer for Vox. I've forgotten his name. I want to say something like Carlos Maza. Started screaming on Twitter about how Steven Crowder is oppressing him for calling him gay and Mexican. And everybody flagged the fucking conservative videos, right? And there's, like, apparently, they're started calling it the Vox Adpocalypse. That Vox and Carlos Maza the gay Mexican. Just like Scorched Earth, everybody, that Steven Crowder's entire channel has been demonetized. A bunch of other people, smaller YouTubers like this guy, Sinatra Says, just completely demonetized when most of his videos have been apparently manually reviewed and they're fine for monetization. Persecution mania? You're literally out to get them. Let's go back now. Let's go back. Because this is amazing. Look, right out the gate. A lot of people thought the internet would help democratize the world. But since conservatives are winning the internet, that's not the case. What? Right? Persecution mania? Are you fucking kidding me? Instead of democratizing the world, the internet has destabilized it. Why? Because conservatives are winning the internet. Where's my favorite one? When did it become obvious that the digital revolution was politically dangerous? I don't have the article up for all of this. Shit. What? Are you fucking... Persecution mania? You are literally conflating conservative with authoritarian. You're calling it dangerous because it's not what you believe. And you're suggesting that it is a failure of democracy because you didn't win. And then you're suggesting that they're suffering from persecution mania. Right? Guys like Carlos Maza, I got no problem with him being gay or Mexican. I take issue because he's retarded and an asshole. And so is apparently every fucking person at Vox. This article came out just a day before. Maybe a day before. What the fuck? What the fuck? And now, here's the real kicker. I'm hearing some stuff on the internet that I cannot confirm, but perhaps Vox is doing this actually to fuck with YouTube. Because YouTube might be their largest source of income. So they're pulling this shit, trying to cause the ad revenue, not for the actual content creators, but to hurt YouTube in the pocket. So YouTube is owned by Google and Alphabet, and maybe they're putting this kind of ridiculous bullshit in my face so that I hate Vox a little more and go after them with a video like it. Maybe, not me specifically, but maybe everybody. Maybe they're pushing this to show off how fucking retarded Vox is. And I know we're not supposed to use the R word anymore, but fuck these retards, seriously. Fuck these gay Mexican retards and their gay Mexican retarded asses. This is fucking ridiculous. Oh no, someone called me gay and Mexican. Those are things you are. You're also retarded and an asshole. I'm having too much fun making this video. I'm also having too many drinks. It's 4 a.m. I got home from work like 2 hours ago. So, forgive me. But I don't care. I just want to get drunk and yell at people on the internet. You may be aware, there was a study done recently that shows conservatives are actually quite good at predicting what a liberal, what a left-wing person will believe about a certain issue. The same study also shows that people on the left are very, very bad at predicting what a person on the right believes about a certain issue. And this suggests to me that people on the right listen to the positions of people on the left, hear them, analyze them, and reject them. People on the left don't hear positions of people on the right. Instead, make something up, accept that as what people on the right believe, and attack it. It's the literal straw man, the essence of a straw man. And I think that's why conservatives are winning the internet. Now, I don't know if they're winning. I think conservatives are still behind. But they are gaining ground and have been for some time. Slowly but surely, it's a grind. But more and more people are coming out and saying, you know what, I am conservative. There was an article, I'll try and find it and link it, about conservative shyness. That the left is so loud, maybe not so much on the internet, but in real life. That the left go out in the street and shame people and group together and, in certain cases, even attack people. Now, I know recently the tossed fish at Sargon and the milkshaking, it's not particularly extreme, it's not particularly dangerous, but that doesn't mean it isn't violence. It's still violence. And if I'm not mistaken, I actually saw a tweet from Carlos Maza saying, yeah, milkshake these motherfuckers till they, you know, are scared to go out in the street and express their opinion. The thing is, it doesn't matter if it's a little violent or a whole lot violent. If you're using violence as a means to control somebody's behavior for political purposes, that is the literal legal definition of terrorism. You're trying to terrorize people with fucking milkshakes. Yeah, and that's pansy-ass fucking terrorism for sure. And nobody really cares, and I think that's part of the problem. People don't care enough because your milkshake terrorism is just milkshakes, but it really is terrorism. These people are willing to go to lengths. They're willing to engage in terrorism as long as the terrorism is mild, and then try and justify the terrorism. It's fucking mind-blowing how fucking retarded these gay Mexicans are. Like, I can't... Come demonetize me. I don't have enough subs to be monetized anyway. I don't give a shit. The conservatives are winning the internet. They're gaining the ground on the internet. Because the more people learn, the more they reject the left.
This quiet offends Slanesh. Scream to be heard.
Relevant links to shit I said in the description? Maybe. I'm a fan. Like, subscribe, or don't. It's a free country. At least it used to be.
Things shall get loud now.